because I have nothing to hide, and then somehow inadvertently, without thinking about it, they get, anyway, yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
But those are actually our biggest tests, to try to remind ourselves that they're not coming at you, because it sure as heck feels like it.
No,
Right?
I realize it.
Yeah.
It's related to,
Yeah. But that's actually the real, those are the real opportunities to practice in those moments.
I can share myself, but I got to be careful what I share about others, right?
You do, you do.
Yeah.
And so you start to learn.
Well, for example, the place I moved is brand new, and one cupboard, the hinge was loose. Okay, I don't have any tools, so I talked to the handyman, and you got to go through this all because it's under warranty or something, and it was a loose screw, and they were going to phone.
Literally.
Yeah, and they were going to phone this company to come down and tighten the screw. It's like, oh man.
Well, now that we've got a few screws loose,
I've had lots loose. Yeah.
welcome back.
I'm working at it, but still rattle around there.
Excellent.
Anyway, that's my biggest problem today. So actually, it's not too bad.
That's not too bad in the scheme of things. Okay, so in the next half hour, I'm going to try and be done by then. I'm going to get you guys into class 3. So we finished class 2, and we're now starting class 3. Okay? So, and actually we're still not into the vows, okay? So we won't be getting into the actual vows for at least another class yet, but don't worry, we're going to get them all done. So, but class 3 really starts to get back into, well, what class 3 is really fascinating about is that right now we're going to just give you a further dissection of bodhicitta, which is that altruistic motivation that we're all trying to cultivate. And then we're going to really talk about the structure of we're going to talk about the structure of the vow ceremony. Okay? And but we're also going to go over the qualifications that you want to make sure the person who's giving you the vows has. And you want to be really, really clear on your own qualifications before you sign up for this stuff, okay? So that's what class 3 is about. It's going to go over all of that stuff. And we're going to go through half of it. So the actual nuts and bolts of the ceremony, we're going to talk about next week, but I'll give you the basic outline before we go today, okay? So the first thing, though, that I want to just get clear here are the 2 divisions of bodhicitta. Did you guys go over the definition of bodhicitta last week?
Yes.
Right, Maitreya's definition?
Yes.
Body, the mind of the Buddha?
Actually, it's not the mind of the Buddha, which is, it can be mistakenly translated, because bodhi is Buddha, citta is mind, but it's the mind that aspires to become enlightened for the sake of all living beings, right? So the short definition of bodhicitta is the wish. It's the wish to achieve enlightenment yourself for the sake of every living being. But there's 2 divisions of bodhicitta. And I'm not talking about sugarcane bodhicitta, which is sweet on the outside but hollow on the inside, versus real bodhicitta, right? That's not the 2 divisions. What we're talking about is bodhicitta. That's a good guess, Sarah.
Oh.
But no. Sarah said ultimate and deceptive, right? That actually is, you know what, I shouldn't say no. That is 2 other ways to break it down, but that's not the breakdown that we're looking for here. The main division is bodhicitta, the wish, in the form of a prayer, and the wish in the form of action. And that's what the 2 words at the bottom are. So we're looking at munsem, and munsem are the 2 towards the bottom, M-U-N-S-U-M, munsem, are the two great divisions of bodhicitta. So the first one, the wish in the form of a prayer, is the intention. And the second one, the wish in the form of action, is when you actually take your Bodhisattva vows. So back in Jetsunkapa's day, they divided the vow ceremony into two. You actually took a vow ceremony just to establish the wish in the form of a prayer. And you actually didn't even get your vows then. And then you really, really worked on your motivation for a year, and then you came back and you actually took the wish in the form of action, which was taking the vows. We condense that. When we give the vows here, we give it in the form of vows, but it's really good from tonight, now that you've heard about it, to really work on your wish in the form of a prayer. To, really think for yourself, is this something I want? Is this something I'd like to aspire to? Is this something that will be useful for me? Will this make me useful if I get these? So, it's good to think about those things. But those are the two main divisions. And the underlying premise in all of this is that you are remembering karma and emptiness. You are remembering everything you learned in ACI VI, for those of you who were here, and for those of you who weren't. If you are unfamiliar with the concepts of karma and emptiness, please come talk to me afterwards, because they're fundamental.
I was going to ask, could you take all 18 courses and then take your vows?
You can, yes.
That way you can cultivate for 2 years.
You can, or longer. Yeah. There's, as I said, just because you take this course does not mean you have to take your vows. But if you want to take your vows, you have to have completed this course. Mm-hmm. And I've seen people try. Every time Lama Marut blew into town, there was one, I can't even say student, this person was a big fan of Lama Marut's and would come for all of Lama Marut's talks, and begged for Bodhisattva vows each time. And I remember the first time Lama Marut saying, okay, take ACI VII, come talk to me when you're done. Next year rolls back into town, same person is begging, did you finish ACI VII? Well, no, I got busy with this and that, whatever. No vows. So, yeah, it's, and it wasn't because he was being a big meanie, it was because of the protection of this person.
You need to understand what you're getting into,
you
right?
Do.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. And it's one of the few vows that you actually do get to understand before
Is there a list in here?
Yep.
Of them?
Yes, throughout your readings there will be. If any of you have that little The Book, they're all in the back.
Oh, okay.
And they're pretty available everywhere. But just like the Source of All My Good that I read you a stanza at the beginning of class 2, it's pithy. And it does take the commentary to actually unpack it, because if you were to just read it verbatim, some of them can sound a little weird, like there's a vow that says don't destroy towns. There is. We'll unpack it, but, and I know we're laughing, but we're going to unpack the concentric circles of what you have to watch out for when you think you're not destroying, when you're not, doing that.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Exactly. So, back to class 2, we talked about the motivation, right? The motivation is really, really important. Don't be doing this stuff just because everybody else in the room is, or because you want to impress your partner or your parents or your kids or your boss or whatever, right? Not the right motivation. You really, really, really want to be wishing to do this because you want to help other people. And back to that sugarcane. Oh, remember I told you about sugarcane bodhicitta? There's also something called goosebump bodhicitta. And they say that often happens after a significant tragedy. We get all goosebumpy, with our love. And it's sweet, it is. But as soon as time passes, your bodhicitta subsides. And it's not long lasting. We need to take those moments and cultivate it and make it stronger, so that it's not the hollow kind of sugarcane bodhicitta or the instant there and then gone goosebump bodhicitta. We want to make it the bodhicitta of a bodhisattva that's actually going to be the motivation to help you get the job done, right? So, okay. So the classic ways to take the vows I'm just back to the bodhicitta as a wish in the form of a prayer. Arya Nagarjuna, back in around 200 AD, wrote a lot about this, and he spent quite a bit of detail on how to take the vows, how to do the ritual of getting this wish in your heart. And apparently in all of that he writes, he doesn't even mention the actual vows. He just spends time telling us to cultivate this wish. And Jetsun Kappa says that Nagarjuna's ritual actually includes taking the vows. But, this was back when they did them separately. And I know Lamaji often suggested that we go back to that. We haven't yet. We just kind of give the vows when we give the vows. But I think it's a good thing to think about. And that's why, back to my advice about use this time, use the course, use the time between now and when the vow opportunity is here to be really thinking about the wish. And it's interesting because the more you do, the more the opportunities will come up for you to practice this stuff. This is actually a homework question, so let me get this right for you. There's a wrong idea I'm going to have to double check this on the answer key because my notes are a little confusing. Jetsun Kappa talks about how Nagarjuna's ritual actually includes the vows, but then there's later writers who say that they're separate rituals, and there's actually only the one ritual. So I'm not sure if that's the homework question or not. Jetsun Kappa actually showed how generally it's all in the same ceremony, that you pledge your wish and you actually get the vows, okay? But Jetsun Kappa does say that Nagarjuna has a good idea. Like, when he was proposing that it be done separately. And Master Shantideva also agrees. And I think the reason this is repeated so many times is because they're just trying to remind us to be really clear on our motivation.
So can you clarify, so is it in Master Sang's time that it's separated? No, it's after. It's
Master Arya Nagarjuna. Arya Nagarjuna is different from Master Asanga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know they all sound a little similar. Arya Nagarjuna is the famous sage on emptiness.
Right.
Yeah. And the myth is that he went to the land of Nagas, who are serpent beings, and these serpent beings, their favorite thing is to hoard Dharma books. And so he went to the land of the Nagas to bring back the wisdom texts. And so Nagarjuna is often depicted with this big serpent throne around him. And they say the Nagas live in lands that are above bodies of water. And so I'm always thinking that we must have Nagas here. Yeah, no, they spend quite a bit of time talking about this whole separate wish ritual versus vow ritual. And Jason Cup says, no, it's all one, but, you know, I mean, we're being given Master Shanti Deva, we're being given Nagarjuna, we're being given Jason Kappa. I know Lama Root has talked about it. So, again, because so many people have been saying this for a while, I think it's just important that we get really, really, really clear on our motivation. Well, we have to be clear on our motivation for anything, right? But, and when we say clear on our motivation, understanding where things really come from and understanding how it is that you're going to fix any of it, right? You got to work on the inside out. So here's the basic breakdown of the vow ceremony. There is the preliminary, there's the main event, and there's the wrap-up, okay? So the preliminary, though, has 5 parts. And the main event is really, really quick. And then the follow-up has a bit more elaboration. And like anything, the preliminaries are the most important. For those of you who completed the ACI III, the course on Steps to the Path of Meditation, will know that preparation is like half the battle, right? Like, even how to sit, there's 8 points of Vairochana. So it's like a lot of things. There's a lot of front-end work that you have to do to get ready for everything, and then the actual, well, I guess the same is true of a wedding or something. Like, you plan for months, right? And then you have this, like, yeah, you have this 10-minute thing, and then you have a party, right? So it's kind of like that.
It takes 20 minutes to eat a turkey dinner.
That took you all day to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like that. The preliminaries are really, really important. And so there's 5 points to the warm-up, okay? So here are the 5 points. You, oh wait, I'm not even going to get into that. Now we're going to flip into the qualities that the vow giver needs to have, because the warm-up, which is called Sola Dappa, by the way, Sola Dappa, a big part of that is that you actually have to ask for the vows, and it's built into the ceremony where you do that. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're actually going to okay. So preliminaries, main part, wrap up. We're going to go through actual steps next week. I'm going to give you the details now of the main qualities of the person taking the vows. Okay? There's certain requirements. So the first thing is they have to be human. So you have to be human. You can be ordained or not ordained. It sounds silly, but this human thing is actually important, because we're talking, this is a Buddhist ceremony within the Buddhist idea of cosmology, right? And we know that, we talked about in ACI VI, all the different realms that exist right now. The only ones we can see are the human and the animal realm, but there are 6 realms. So that's why they give that qualification that you have to be human. So you don't already have to be ordained, but you can be, and that's the first qualification. Second one, you have to have the motivation that we keep talking about to help others. And even if it's half-hearted and wimpy, and you're not exactly sure if that's really what you want to do, but you think it's kind of a good idea, that's okay. The third thing is that you have to intend to keep the vows. Like, don't bother taking them if you have no intention of keeping them. And then remember from the earlier discussion about the 4 benefits, like why you would keep your vows is the same thing. The person you took it from, the shame and consideration, and the motivation, right? So those all intertwine into here also. So those 3 things, yes.
To go back a step, what do you mean by being ordained or not ordained?
Oh, you can be a monk or a nun and ask for your Bodhisattva vows, or you can be a lay person.
Oh,
So it's not that you already have to be a monastic in order to get your Bodhisattva vows. Actually, would be the qualifying factor for all of us, because we're all lay people. That's the finer details that they give here. So that's the vow taker. Here's the qualities of a vow giver, okay? Again, human, and ordained or not ordained. It's good if they are ordained, but it's not absolutely necessary. More importantly, they should be able to give you your higher vows, meaning your tantric vows also. And again, it's not absolutely necessary that they can do that, but it's kind of a good, like if you're going to check their qualifications, so in other words, it's useful if they've maroked, right? Like it's just kind of like a basic thing. And it's useful if you know that they have their tantric vows and can give you that eventually, if it should come to that. Even if, don't worry, your Bodhisattva vow master is not necessarily your tantric teacher, okay? So don't assume that that is true. However, one of the qualifications is that if they are ordained, if they can do this for you, then it just shows different levels of experience and knowledge. The so, you know, it then naturally assumes that these people are keeping their Bodhisattva vows and, you know, living the life that you're aspiring to. That's what's true of any teacher. You want to have a teacher who knows their stuff and who is living proof of their practice. Otherwise, why bother, right? Like they say, don't go to someone who's worse than you, otherwise you're just going to degenerate. And it's always good to know that they can teach you something. So it's good if they have their vows, okay? Although, again, it's not absolutely necessary. There is this form of taking vows that, although I don't recommend it, but they said that if there's absolutely nobody around, you can take your vows in front of an altar and a statue of a Buddha. But I think to be able to do that and to have the vows take, you'd have to be a fairly highly realized practitioner with a lot of faith in the beings on your altar, you know? But they do say that that's possible too. So the person giving you the vows can be a man or a woman. They can be ordained or they can be a lay person. And they must at least have some motivation to help all living beings.
That's along with the same thing as
The
keeping
vow
your
kit?
vows.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Or it's similar. I mean, just because you're keeping your vows, well, no, yeah. At this level, keeping their vows they would have to have that level of motivation in order to keep their vows. You want to make sure that they're living their lives according to the vows. Like if they look like they're breaking their vows left, right, and center, then that's probably a red flag, you know? This is important. They must not have degenerated in their practice of the 6 perfections. And, you know, we just ran through the 6 perfections in the first part of the class, so we're not going to do the full thing again, but I will give you some of Jetsunkapa's warnings. So remember the 6 perfections were giving, ethics or kindness, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. Okay? So for giving, Jetsunkapa says, if the person has failed in this practice, they're attached to objects and things. And you don't want to take vows from someone like that. Failing in the practice of morality, Jetsunkapa gives 2 examples. One would be a monk who has broken one of their main vows, one of their main 4 vows. And remember I said the first 4 monks' vows are the same as the first 4 non-virtues, but in a really extreme way, right? And secondly, if the person doesn't respect morality or vows in general, if they're blatantly behaving immorally, then you want to steer clear. Patience. So someone who's failing in their perfection of patience is someone who gets upset easily, who gets angry easily, and who is probably having a hissy fit and a meltdown, left, right, and center, right? It sounds a little ridiculous, but it's good to know what the warning signs are. The perfection of concentration and wisdom. You know, they don't say it here in the qualifications of a teacher, which is something else, the list of 10 that we've gone through in some of the other classes. They do say that you want them to have the 3 extraordinary trainings. So they don't say that specifically here, but they're referring to that 3 extraordinary trainings are the trainings of Dulwa, Shiva, Nir Shiva, which is discipline, peace, and high peace. So that would be your ethics, your concentration, and your wisdom. To have those in high development. And the highest development of wisdom, of course, is someone who has seen emptiness directly. Here's the thing. Anyone who has isn't going to tell you they have. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like your best guess. But it's, again, you know, it's by observing. It's by seeing how they live, seeing how they teach, seeing how they behave, really. They should know the ritual well. They should be able to give you your vows. And they should know the whole literature of the Bodhisattvas very well. The 6 perfections. You know, they should be able to cite you chapter and verse of the 6 perfections. Joyous effort. Someone who has failed in the perfection of joyous effort is someone who's lost their zest for the Dharma. Someone who is just not driven. It's not exciting them anymore. The concentration is someone who is really easily distracted. And I would say, watch for symptoms of lung. We've talked about that in some of the yoga classes, but these wind disorders. Common symptoms of lung are like manic depressive type things, quick to anger, giddiness. Like there's different, there's a whole laundry list of things, but basically any sort of when you're suffering from lung, you're off balance. You're off your center. The screws are very, very loose, and it's palatable, So yeah, you want to steer clear of that. You want to watch for it in yourself, and you want to steer clear of that in your. The sixth one is wisdom, and they say that the opposite of that is someone who has, and I quote, become spiritually stupid. So, in other words, they're breaking their morality a lot, and their ability to analyze and explain would be degenerating. I find it interesting that they give all these warnings, because just in my experience with my teachers, it astounds me how much they know and how much they continue to reveal to me, And it's like the more I study, the more I appreciate the earlier stuff that I learned. That it's just everything Geshe-la has taught us is just so, it's all complete. If we could just perfect ACI I, we'd be done, okay? But, we get distracted very easily, so we need 18 courses to try and actually make some sense of ourselves and our world. But seriously, the practices in any of them, the three principal paths, the laws of karma and emptiness. Like if we could get the Diamond Cutter Sutra, for God's sake, if we could get any of these down, we'd be done. So it's it would be really challenging to find someone who was going to be giving vows who would be not, who would be breaking all of this. Would be a little extreme, but it's good to know what you should watch out for, right? Okay, they're pretty basic. That's pretty much what at the end of the day, you want you and the person you're taking them from, you want to make sure that they've got their head screwed on straight, that their morality is in place, that they know that which of that they're speaking of, right? And that they're walking the walk and not just talking the talk. So if that is all in place, then you're set. And so next week we're going to finish, actually I've covered more than half, so we should be able to very quickly finish up next week class 3, which is going to be an actual breakdown of the preliminaries, the main event, and the follow-up, which will be the actual ceremony. But when it comes down to it, when we do get to the vows, which probably won't happen until the new year, but when we do get to it, don't worry, there'll be lots of instruction, and when you actually show up for the ceremony, everything is beautifully scripted, and the what to do and what to say and where to do what is all explained throughout the ritual. So there's no studying you need to do ahead of time other than understanding the vows and completing these courses. But as for the actual ceremony itself, it's just a really, really beautiful event. Okay, so it's 9:35, and we're going to stop there. Thank you guys for hanging in. Any questions?
Can I just?
Go ahead.
Not a question. It's not a question.
Well, mine isn't either. I just wondered, are you still going to speak to a few of us about the karma and emptiness class that we missed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
I just wanted to make an announcement. If you would like to be on the email list, because Sherry has asked me to send out the document, then please make sure that I get your email address before you leave tonight.
For any of you who don't have the Source of Online Good, or actually for all of you, I'll get Farah to send you out a copy. It's a really, really beautiful,
Where would you like the
thing to
emails?
know.
Farah, would you like a piece of paper and
I'll
toss it around?
I prefer to write it in my writing so I know I can read it. So, I don't.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's dedicate.
Sashi Puki Jukshin Metotram Rila Blingshin Yande Gyanpadi Sange Shindu Mikte Uwargi Trokun Andak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Radhana Mandalakam Niratayami Kewadi Kewokun Sunam Yeshe Tsotsokshin Sunam Yeshe Lejunwe Lampe Kunyi Toparsho